Peace, people. Welcome back to another episode of the Real Lil Show. It's going down, just so you know. And believe you me, it is. Because on this Sunday night, at the time that we are recording this episode, there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to break down, and we are going to do so like Alice Caruso. Okay. And I just want to rhyme there because I'm on time in here. All right. So make sure you like and subscribe to the channel because it's going down. All right. Make sure you pound that like button. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you share to a friend because no media is where media is going. Don't let ESPN fool you. All right. YouTube is where it's at. And make sure you like there. Make sure those of y'all on Spotify as well and other platforms, Twitch, listen, we make it do what it do. But let's get into the topics that we have today. We got some good topics. We're going to talk about the WNBA because the WNBA is making headlines. Now, some could argue for all the wrong reasons. Okay, there's a lot of political stuff going on in the WNBA, and I'm here with my guy Lee to break it down. But also, we got some guys that got paid. Okay, show me the money, show me the money, 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 money. All right. So to my guy Shane McMahon, all right, show me the money. We got money coming in for the running backs right now. We are going to break it down. What does this running back renaissance mean for the running back position in the NFL and how it's valued today as opposed to just a couple years ago? I'm going to break that down. And then we have our infamous quarterback rankings that we're going to continue on today's episode 10 through 6. We got a lot of bag of tricks. I got my guy Lee in the building. Lee, how you feeling?
Feeling good, man. Feeling good. Great show, great topics that we have, things that are out in the public's eye. I think with the NFL season coming up, it's only right to start looking at who are the best quarterbacks or who we think will be the best quarterbacks. Talking about the running back position, I got my thoughts on whether it's a renaissance or, what's going on there. And then the WNBA seems to always be in the headlines now, and that's a good thing for the league. And so I'm interested to talk about the topics today.
And Lee, we might as well begin in the WNBA because right now the commissioner of the WNBA is looking into having discussions about transgender athletes after Royce White and Enos Cantor announcements of them, trying to get into the WNBA as women. So obviously, Lee, I know there's a sense of humor there, obviously, and I want to break that down. But before we do, I want to play a clip from Royce White, and then we'll pick it up from there.
The announcement. I'm transgender. I'm a woman. I identify as sometimes identifying as a woman for purposes of basketball, professional basketball. So I'll be declaring for the WNBA draft in 2027 as well. I mean, I think I'd be unstoppable, but I'm a team first guy. I'm a pass first kind of player. I do the little things. I led my team in all 5 major stat categories at Iowa State University. So I do a little bit of everything. I'll do whatever the coach needs me to do. I'll do whatever the girls need me to do. I think the WNBA could come out and make a definitive statement about guys with a pair of balls playing in the women's association. But hey, that'd be probably too much like right. So, and I don't want to be discriminated against. No, I want fair treatment. I'm a black, I'm a young black, hopefully United States senator that would like a fair chance to participate as a sometimes identifying as a transgender woman athlete.
All right, Lee, thoughts?
That's interesting. It's funny with he and Enos Cantor how they came out and announced that they were entering the draft. Look, the couple things about the WNBA draft is, it doesn't say anything about transgender athletes one way or the other in their draft requirements, right? It doesn't even say anything about male or female. It was certainly the female with the W standing for women. It doesn't say anything other than they have to be 4 years removed from their high school. I have it right here. They have to turn at least 22 years old during the calendar year of the draft. Graduate from a 4-year institution within 3 months of the draft. They have to renounce their college eligibility rights, and that's really it. There's a segment on the international players who must be 20 to enter the draft, but it doesn't really have. That's really all it when it talks about as far as gender, and so it's really just implied. Now it's cute what Cantor and Royce White are saying, for them anyway. I think the bigger issue here is where the league's official stance will be on, transgender athletes and really getting educated, as we talked about a few weeks back, Leo, on what does it mean to be transgender and how does it affect an individual when they are, and what percentage, and all of that stuff that is really not commonplace knowledge to the average person. I know a lot has been floated about this Julie Tart or whatever her name is over in France. I mean, 34-year-old. She's 6'4", 6'3". She's averaging 20.7 points, 20 rebounds in 27 games, and there's been thoughts about her coming over to the WNBA or wanting to do that. And looking at the young lady, if that's what she identifies as, that to me is that's a bit far. And so I'm not educated enough to say, what those limits should be, but there certainly should be. And the fact that, that young lady, individual wants to play in the WNBA, that would be totally unfair, in my opinion. Physically, it just doesn't look right. Physically, it just doesn't look right. And so there are a lot of moving parts. I think this offseason, there's going to be a lot of conversation around draft eligibility. But it's interesting because you've never had in modern basketball a woman try to enter the NBA draft, and then these men who are really just making fun of the WNBA doing this. I don't find it too amusing, but they thought it was cute. But I do think there needs to be a significant clarification on what the WNBA stands for as far as the individuals that they draft. Now, the interesting thing about it is, hey, the teams just won't draft people, right? It's very similar to the NFL when you had some openly gay athletes who tried to enter the NFL draft. Michael Sams got drafted, but he didn't make a team, and he was cut by the second week of training camp. So a lot of times these things work themselves out, but they're going to have to make a stance or put out a formal statement on what the WNBA and the league stance is, Leo.
Yeah, I mean, look, let's get to the point here, man, because you have families today that cut one another off due to political differences. Okay, there's literally American families who do not speak because of political differences. So I don't understand why the WNBA think that they're exempted from those repercussions when you talk about identity politics. Now, sure, it will give them more content in the media. Obviously, we're talking about it on the show. Obviously, more people are talking about the WNBA more now than ever before. But is it for the right reasons, though? Because you know that saying, Lee, you're not laughing with me, you're laughing at me. And I feel like when you talk about the WNBA and its viewership, and I could argue, me being a new person to the WNBA, I'm not laughing with the WNBA right now, Lee. I'm laughing at the WNBA. And that's the difference here. Because I see a sport with a lot of potential. I do. Like I said, I'm new to it. You may be a loyal watcher of the WNBA, and that's fine. Obviously, you could give a tour to a lot of new people about what the WNBA is all about, because they're going to need it from what they're seeing if they just, watch highlights and, occasionally tap into a game. But with that being said, I do see potential when I do watch some of these games. I see a person like AJ Wilson, who I believe is a dominant player. I do see potential when I see somebody like Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, all those players over there. I do see a league with potential compared to when I tried to tap into it a couple years ago and tune right back out of it. Now, it's not like that type of time. And so I do see the potential. But right now, Lee, this sport is sabotaging its league with the identity politics. And I feel like the road that it took to get here, to get to this sport where it could be a notoriety sport, where it could be appreciated. Again, I remember days where they were literally giving away free tickets for summer schools and elementary schools and middle schools to actually go to the games just so they can put butts in seats. And the fact that they built it from the ground up, whatever the black women, Caitlin Clark, whoever y'all want to say was the one that helped build it. We had these wars and whatnot. The reality is they built themselves to a point where they can be relevant, but right now they're dropping the ball. Right now, I'm looking at these terrible referee calls. This terrible officiating where Sophie gets elbowed in the face. I want to wonder the clip again. Let's play for. I mean, this is a clear foul, and that's that. And then there's a Caitlin Clark situation where she ran into the referee. I saw the play, and they called a technical on Caitlin Clark when she ran to the referee by accident. So I'm looking at the league and I'm laughing at the league, Lee. And I'm laughing at the league making Caitlin Clark look like she's not the face of the sport, not getting behind her. Like, how do you call that a technical when your box office attraction? Sure, we don't have to say she's the best player. She's not. But your box office attraction, right, is about to be suspended with another suspension, and you're going to give her a technical. Luckily, the league came to its senses and rescinded that technical. But that's how we moving here? That's how we moving here? That would never happen to Jordan. That would never happen to Tom Brady. That would never happen to any great player in any sensible league. So, Lee, as I land this plane here and pass it right back to you, again, I think the league is getting unnecessary publicity that they do not want. And that means people are laughing at the league, not with it.
Oh, I think the league is healthy. I think it's very healthy. I think it has very good basketball. I do look at the officiating now. The foul on Sophie Cunningham, for instance, was called a flagrant 2. The player was ejected from the game, so it was adjudicated the right way. We see the slap across the face, but it's interesting because Dejanay Carrington, that's her play. She's done chase down blocks from behind all season long.
And that's fine, Lee. But then to come out in the locker room and go on Threads and say white privilege, I mean, yeah, sure. You can sit here and tell me that the league is physical, and I do see that when I watch the game, that it is a physical league. But what you also can't do, Lee, is say that there's no jealousy, there's no animosity, there's no, feelings, hard feelings, because clearly she would have had tweeted that.
But Leo, she tweeted it because she got throughout the game. But there's jealousy, there's animosity in every professional league out there. See, I don't know why people always want to say there's jealousy and animosity in the WNBA, like there's not jealousy and animosity in the NBA, like there's not in the NFL, in Major League Baseball.
Well, guess what, Lee? The difference is they don't sabotage their careers for jealousy. And if they do, then they're idiots.
They're not sabotaging their career, though. The league is very healthy. That's what I'm saying. It's very healthy. And it's not they're not sabotaging. They're playing basketball. See, everything you have to take in context. I was watching that game. She just went for the block and missed. That's all. And came across her face. They called a flagrant 2. They threw out the game. That's what she said after the game was unfortunate. That's emotion right after the game. But I don't see it as sabotaging the league. I see it as just an emotional statement that shouldn't be said. But the WNBA is healthy. The officiating has to get a little better, a little more consistent, right? And we've had this talk ad nauseum. If an NBA player bumped an official, it would be a technical foul, Leo. Bottom line. If they ran into the official and the official thought that they did it, whether it was on purpose or not, it would be a technical foul. So now they rescinded it because they looked at it and the league thought, well, it was borderline. So they did it. They have that right, same as the NBA. But we can't. I think sometimes with the WNBA, we overthink everything. We don't give it the same structure. We don't give it the same rope to be what it is as we do the NFL and the NBA. And then the last thing I'll say before I turn it back over to you, Leel, when we look at the NBA draft, right? Even if a woman applied to the draft, we know that they wouldn't get drafted. So it doesn't carry the appeal. It doesn't carry the appeal as Royce White and Cantor saying that they're transgender because they want to make a statement. It doesn't carry that appeal. The interesting thing also about it is because it's not clearly defined in their draft guidelines, those men can say that. Now it's time to sort of clean up the draft eligibility requirements, and then we move on. And look, the owners have to say, look, we know who we want to be in our league and leave it at that. The guys are just having fun because they're trying to make statements. I find it kind of distasteful, but to each his own, in my opinion.
Well, it's not distasteful. And look, when you talk about, matter of fact, salute to Enes Kanter, salute to Royce White for using, left, ideology logic against them. Sometimes, Lee, sometimes the best response is not name calling. Sometimes the best response is not identity shaming, right? Because again, I may not see the world the way how everybody else see the world.
Isn't that what they're trying to do here, Lee?
No, it's not.
Of course
it's not. That's exactly not what they're trying to do.
Of course it is.
They didn't come out and call anybody names.
No, they didn't do it.
They didn't say that, I don't support
by word. They didn't
transgenders. They didn't say that. What they're doing is using left logic against them. And that's how you defeat people. You use their logic and what they believe to be logic against them. Uno reverse, Lee. You ever played Uno? And you ever reversed? All right, you use the logic against them. And that's exactly what they did. They didn't came out, they didn't call nobody out their name. They just heard what was going on and what they was trying to promote and everything that Sophie Cunningham talked about and against, which, she had a right to do so. And they said, you know what? I'm going to use left ideology logic against them because the Democrats is the one that's pumping up this garbage anyway.
Where do you think it got them, Leel? Where do you think it got them?
Well, guess what? It got the league. It got the league scrambling. It got the commissioner scrambling to figure out, how they're going to do this.
Not really. It's an easy.
No, it's exposing them because guess what? Any random person could come out and call themselves this and call themselves that. So if they can do it, then why can't Royce White and Enes Kanter do it?
Royce White and Enes Kanter can call themselves anything they want to. The owners in the WNBA.
And you know what's going to be dangerous, Lee? You know what's going to be dangerous is when the salary cap goes up in the WNBA and people are making more money. Guess what? People going to be like, you know what? I might as well call myself a woman today and go get a bag. Because if there's people that's willing to rob a bank and risk their life to rob a bank or rob somebody on the street, well, guess what? They got some athletic abilities. Why not commit a heist in the WNBA?
How do you get in the WNBA, Leo? You have to be drafted or signed.
Yeah, if you have some physical ability. I won't think it'd be hard to get drafted. If you're a guy genetically and you pretend to be a woman, you might have a good shot to make it to the WNBA.
That's your conspiracy theory side coming out.
It's just a blind logic.
That'll never happen.
Logic ain't a conspiracy theory. It's logic.
It was cute. I mean, they got their 15 minutes of fame. Now they both can do. He's trying to run for Senate, and Enes Kanter can go back to what he was doing, and they'll fade out. Right? It was cute, but let's get down to the basics and the facts of everything. Right? There certainly has to be a defining moment of what the league stands for because there are transgender athletes. And that research has to be done and statements do have to be made. And the league, as a private organization, can set their policy. To be honest with you,
it's logic. All right? Again, if the league want to dive into that and create an issue that really don't need to be an issue, then that's on them. They're going to create more issues within one. They're going to be like the WNCA and create all these issues that really doesn't need to be.
Well, it's not
all right. Lay down the law. We already know who's what and who's who, and let people play. That's it. Stop coming over here with this garbage. That really makes no sense because again, if we use that same logic, we can't pick and choose what's logical.
Leel,
and that's what Royce White and Enes Kanter is doing.
Answer me this. Then why did the NFL go to such lengths to pretty much kick the SEC Defensive Player of the Year out of the NFL?
Because at the end of the day,
if it's so clear,
before the NFL got into this leftist madness.
It's
Because
not
right
left.
now, currently, I do believe in today's NFL, he might have gotten away with it. He might have gotten away with it. He might have been able to, he was a good player. I saw him in Missouri.
Oh,
He was good.
he was a defensive.
Yeah, he was an
SEC
elite
defensive
player.
player of the
Yeah, I
year.
get it. But at the end of the day, Lee, there's respect. You in the locker room with guys. So at the end of the day, yeah, you can have your preferences and whatnot.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like it's like going to a church, right? Like you got to respect God. You got to respect your boundaries here.
But
So at the end of the day, the league was not ready for that. The country was not ready for that. It's when these Democrats got into office and they promoted that logic that everybody's running with it, and that's why you see society crashing the way it is today.
It's the same logic that's going on in the WNBA right now. They weren't ready for openly gay athletes in the NFL. They had to deal with that.
And let me be clear here.
The same way the WNBA.
And let me be clear here about
with transgender athletes.
Michael Sam.
There's no difference.
I do believe Michael Sam should have been in the league.
There's no
Let me
difference.
be clear on that. I don't believe that his identity should have stopped him from being in the league. At the end of the day, there's a difference there because he's still a guy who identifies himself as a guy who just likes guys. But that doesn't mean that he doesn't deserve to play with guys because guess what? He's physically identifying himself as a guy because he is one.
Of the situation, though, those are just nuances. The actual scope of what was happening is where they parallel each other. Very similar with the issue with transgender athletes in the WNBA compared to the openly gay people in the NFL. It's very similar. The nuances of it's a little different, but how you adjudicate that and look at the league's acceptance of it is very, very similar. And it's an ever-changing world that you have to define your policies and procedures, and that's what's going on here. So Enes Kanter and Ross White are not even a factor in this. It's the league having to make sure that they discuss this and have research and science behind it.
If I'm the WNBA, and I know a lot of people identify as different things in the WNBA, they got a bunch of nicknames there. So at the end of the day, I'm going to be respectful to those nicknames. But the ones that are just regular people that want to hoop, and I do believe that some people with the nicknames will feel the same way, that they want to be protected in their sport. They want to be able, as women, to go hoop because at the end of the day, they've been chasing men. Men created the world, which we, obviously, if you believe in God, I mean, there's your answer. But men did this. Men do that. Men can do this better than women. Women can't vote. Women can't do this. Women can't do that. They've been chasing men. Women's whole life, and I'm not talking about every single woman. I'm talking about just women in general, is chasing men and chasing what men was able to do before they can do it. So at the end of the day, they've gotten themselves to a place where the sport, with everything I said about the officiating and me laughing at that aspect of the league, is still better than where it was 5 years ago by a mile, for sure. The league is watchable. I can sit here and watch the WNBA and not get turned off and not get bored. However, with that being said, you cannot ruin the sport that women built. Transgenders didn't build the WNBA. Women built the WNBA. So you cannot allow, people or whatever, however you want to frame it. Okay, don't get me confused here on this show to come here and beat everybody up. And truth be told, if Enes Kanter was able to enter the WNBA, which is obviously not going to happen, but if he was, he would be collecting 300 rebounds a game.
Nobody would draft him, Leel. It's a joke, okay? Nobody would draft him. But first of all, I'm gonna correct you. The WNBA has always been.
I don't understand why they want it. If I'm a GM and I have an opportunity to draft Enes Kanter to win, because that's what I want to do is win, I'm doing it. Give me 500 boards.
Well, in the NFL, you want to draft the SEC Defensive Player of the Year.
My boy would be like Michael Jordan.
So it's the same logic behind it. Why no one drafted Michael Sams? It's the same logic. I mean, that's what's going on here. Nobody's going to draft
Michael Sam had a preference. He had a fetish. He had whatever he had, right? But at the end of the day, there's a locker room aspect to that. Because at the end of the day, you share locker room with guys. There's a respect level that you have to abide by. However, with that being said, I don't think that was cause for him to be out the league because clearly he was a very, very good player worthy of being on the NFL roster. But that's not him going into a women's sport. That's him trying to go into the NFL They didn't respect that part of his lifestyle because they had respect for other guys in the locker room. Again,
What
we
about the
live in a
respect
different
for
time
him?
today, unfortunately, than we did back then. Back then, there's certain things that you could have gotten away with by saying, the Boondocks is one of my favorite shows growing up. There's things that were said back then that they got away with that today the show will probably get canceled. But that's because of a lot of what Barack Obama and company promoted when they were running the daggone country. But that doesn't mean that everybody got to get on board with that. Because at the end of the day, we've lived our lives a certain way. We have certain views. Just because y'all want to jump ship and redefine what we always knew to be true doesn't mean I got to roll with it.
Nobody
I'm not
said
going to roll with that.
nobody has said anybody has to roll with anything. We were making a lot of assumptions here, but if you don't think when you look at comparing and contrasting situations, and that's what I do. I'm an educator by nature. That's what I do. It's by contrast, it's the same thing that's going on, right? And they have to work themselves through it. Leel, just because you're a gay football player doesn't mean you want every player in the locker room.
I'm definitely not that.
That's not.
I know what you
You
mean.
have to give them the respect as a professional football player that's not going to
There
happen.
will never be.
But we're going to say I'm looking at where the league is and their evolution and where the NFL was, and I parallel those things and how they have to look at these things and work through it because it's very, very similar.
Yeah. At the end of the day, and I'm gonna end here. Again, salute to Royce White for using logic against the liberals. At the end of the day, that's peaceful. Right? You're not calling nobody out their name. You're not condoning or condemning what they want to do with their lives because they have every right to want to do what they want to do with their lives. I'm not here to tell somebody what they should and should not do with their lives. At the end of the day, it's your life. You live it. At the end of the day, we all got to answer to somebody before we go or after we go. So, that's going to take care of itself. I don't need to do that. But with that being said, what we can do is use logic against them. Use your own logic. That's how you prove your point. And right now, the fact that the WNBA commissioner has to scramble to figure out and have discussions right after they did that, clearly whatever they was trying to convey worked. Even if it doesn't go beyond this, even if it doesn't go beyond that, their point worked because now the WNBA commissioner has to look into this and figure out how they're going to operate it, going forward. And that's just where I will leave it. Lee, if you want to have last words.
Last thing I'll say very quickly. It's easy to deal with it if it ever happened. They just wouldn't get drafted, Leel. There's a little thing in professional sports called collusion, and there's a little thing called that is a written and unwritten rules, and that's what would happen. Look, they got their 15 minutes. Let them have their 15 minutes and move. But it did, and I agree with you on this, and I'll end with this. It did make the league have to go and further define the draft eligibility requirements and standards, and that's probably a good thing for the league in a nutshell.
And we are going to move on to topic number 2, and that was an explosive topic number 1. I think my guy Lee is woken up now. My guy Lee, before we got on the air, was a little bit sleepy. I can hear it in his voice. But now my guy's wide awake. All right. And now we out to topic number 2. And we might as well make it do what it do. What is the latest and what does the latest contract extensions of Jahmyr Gibbs, Jonathan Taylor, and B. John Robinson say about the running back renaissance? And Lee, I would love to begin to kick this one off.
Go ahead.
And, to me, the NFL paying these running backs, it tells us a lot about where the league is today in regards to how they use and utilize the running game. You see, right now in America, Lee, and I want to dial it back before we attack the subject at hand. Right now in America, we are living in a pro-labor society. All right, you look at the wealth gap accumulated by the 1%, which is 38 trillion to be exact in total wealth, more than the whole entire middle class combined. You look at the job market, there's less openings, bad pay not keeping up with inflation. It is not a pro-labor society whatsoever. Now, if you apply that same logic to sports, there's an ongoing debate about the salary cap and if it's good for sports leagues. Obviously, the MLB is currently going back and forth with that particular subject, but the NFL is more pro labor than any of the sports leagues, in my opinion. And it has nothing to do with the salary cap and the fact that it's a hard salary cap. It's because they have a couple things that utilize their advantage as far as ownership, which is franchise tag and the fact that your contracts are genuinely not guaranteed fully. So those two things give the employers a lot of leverage over the employees. Now, when you talk about that more directly, the fact that you can get hurt, and that's a big disadvantage. Imagine your contract not being fully guaranteed. That you get injured, that's it. The money, they don't have to allocate the money back to you. It's over. So to me, that was a bigger disadvantage in the past to the running back position because they had the more physically demanding position, which could lead to a decrease in longevity. So with that being said, as I look at these contracts, when I saw these contracts agreed to, the first thing that came to mind was look at the fully guaranteed portion of the contract, not the annual per year. So now I'm looking at Jahmyr Gibbs, $51 million guaranteed. Now I'm looking at Bijan Robinson, $51 million guaranteed. Now I'm looking at Jonathan Taylor, $39 million guaranteed. Now I'm looking at Jeremiah Love, who didn't even play an NFL snap. His contract is fully guaranteed. So I believe that that's good for the running back position because they had the more physically demanding position. And this is not something that was happening just a couple days or years ago. Now, I do believe that these running backs are benefiting from the salary cap rising each year. So there's more money to be spent when it comes to guarantees because now you have the allocation to do so because your salary cap is rising, which means you have more money to dish out. So I do believe that the NFL is shifting back to running the football. When you look at the football aspect of it, I talked about the business, I talked about the cap. I want to talk about the football aspect. A couple years ago, the league said the running backs weren't valuable to get paid enough. Now, when you look at how the league was a passing league just a couple years ago, guess what? It was a passing league. You had the Chiefs offense that was explosive with Tyreek Hill. You had all these spread out offenses. And guess what? You had the Vic Fangio, two high safety looks that took away the explosive play, which made you have to run the football. So now we all know that one thing about this league, it's a copycat league. So guess what? Just like how when Patrick Mahomes won the championship, everybody wanted to find the next Patrick Mahomes. Now everybody's running the football more to combat the two high safety looks that take away the big explosive play. And because you're running the football more, because you need your running back more, you're going to pay them more. And because the salary cap is rising year to year, you're going to pay them more, guaranteed more. So Lee, that's my take. I believe that what this running back renaissance means is that we are living in a time where the value of the running back is back.
Some good points there. I don't think it's a renaissance, though. I think what you have is that you've seen three special players get paid for the value that they bring to their team. And those are individual players. When you look at Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson, they're special players. They can line up at receiver. They can line up at running back. They can run routes just as good as receivers. And you look at what they do, really yards from scrimmage, same way with Jonathan Taylor because he catches the ball out of the backfield as well. These are generational type players in their position, so they deserve to get paid more money. But let me say this, Leel, when you look at the status and the positioning of where the running back is paid on a football team, they're still the fifth highest paid. Their position is still the fifth highest paid position in the league. The quarterback gets paid more. They get paid 50 to 60 million. The wide receiver, they're getting paid 35 to 45 million. The defensive ends are getting paid 35 to 40 million now. The D-backs are getting 30 to 40 million. The left tackle is getting 25 to 30 million. The running back is still fifth or sixth highest in their position. So it's not a renaissance. The salary cap, to your point, has raised up the money that you can give them. But when you look at the Atlanta Falcons, Bijan Robinson is the best player on the team, period. But he is the 4th or 5th highest player on the team. It doesn't calculate.
Good
So
point.
I
Good
don't think
point.
from a pay perspective, same way with Jameer Gibbs. From a pay perspective, I don't think it's a renaissance. The importance of the position, certainly you're correct. If you can run the football in today's NFL, you can win a championship. There is no doubt about that because the rules are set up for the passing game. And when you can run the football and force them, to your point, to come up and help out in run game, you can go over the top, and all of the rules down the field favor the offense. So the position itself is definitely back, and it never really left. You know, there were times when you had the Mahomes, the Tyreek Hill, that was special, but the position is back. But the pay, as far as the ranking in the league and the order on the teams, that's still not. Both Gibbs, they're averaging $22 to $25 million a year on average. That's nothing, Leel, when you look at all of this money that all of these other positions are making compared to them. You know, Drake London makes more money than Bijan Robinson on an annual basis. Jameson Williams is going to make more money than Jameer Gibbs, when both of those players are the best players on their team. So I don't see it as a renaissance. I see these players as special generational talents, and that's why they got paid. And it has, to your point, with the salary cap going over, the NFL is printing money. So it has given them a higher ceiling as far as what they can be paid, but their rankings is pitiful. Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith, Thurman Thomas, Walter Payton, all of these guys were the highest paid players on their teams at one point. We won't have that, and I don't see us having that in the foreseeable future for the running back position in NFL right now.
I mean, look, and those are fair, valid arguments to bring up. But I would say this as well. Just a couple years ago, it's not like they were getting contracts immediately. They were getting tagged. So the fact that they're not getting tagged no more, and it's not like the tag just disappeared. That's still there. The NFLPA, again, I don't know what they're doing. They seem like they work more for the owners than they do the players, because I would have immediately abolished the franchise tag a long time ago. It would never even have existed, because to me, that's where the NFL has the pro labor, over the NFL. It's the fact that you have a franchise tag. So if negotiations don't go well, guess what? I tag you. You ain't going nowhere. So they was able to do that with the running backs a couple years ago. Now they're showing them more love. They're not tagging them no more. Now they're actually paying them. So whether, and I agree with your point as well, two things can be true at the same time. Yeah, sure. They still not the highest paid players on their team, when you could argue they are the best players on their team. Jonathan Taylor is, Jameer Gibbs is. Yep. I give Jared Goff credit. He's still good, but Jameer Gibbs is the weapon there, the biggest weapon there. Bijan Robinson is. But at the same time, there is improvement, because they were getting tagged just a couple years ago.
Yeah, and to your point, a couple years ago, it would be hard pressed to get a running back making $10 million a year, average. An average.
And plus, Seattle didn't bring back Walker too, so it kind of is like it really, because Kenneth Walker had an amazing Super Bowl. Donald didn't play good in the Super Bowl. That was probably one of the games that he struggled in the playoffs. And Kenneth Walker, they rolled him to a championship, and they didn't bring him back. They felt like they was able to, have Zach Charbonnet, who was going to return back off an injury, but also draft another running back and reset that market. So there is a level to a point that you could bring up to make your point even more stronger. But at the same time, in general, I do believe that Bijan and Jameer Gibbs is just on a totally different stratosphere than a lot of these other guys. CMC, you can argue as well. CMC is more of a pass catching back than he is a guy that you want lining up every single snap as a traditional running back. He's more effective as a pass catcher, and that still brings value, and that's why he's paid as well. But also, Jeremiah Love didn't play a snap in the NFL. I was shocked to see that he got the contract that he got without playing the snap that he got. So again, the NFL was showing running backs more love than it was before. And that's why I think when people talk about collusion, we have to be very, very careful when we bring up that word collusion, because a couple years ago, it would have seemed like they was colluding against each other to make sure that the running backs didn't get paid. No, it's a copycat league. So when people told you and organizations told you that we don't pay running backs, everybody else ran with it. It was no collusion. It was the fact that it was a copycat league, and perception is perception. And then now that everybody paying their running backs, guess what? The new generation of running backs like Ashton Genty and all those other guys, they got something to look forward to now because the cap is only going to go up and they're going to reset the market. So at the end of the day, this is a clear running back renaissance. And I think these running backs should be happy about it. And the fact that they get to take home more money than they probably would have just a couple years ago.
Yeah. Jeremiah Love got that money without playing because he was the number 3 pick in the draft. So his salary was always going to be slotted because they think that highly of him. He got that money. I'll say this. I agree with you as far as the renaissance, as far as the position. You know, a couple of years ago, they thought running back by committee was the way to go, and you didn't have to pay one running back. And that's what Seattle did up until the point of Charbonnet getting hurt, and they ran Kenneth Smith to the championship, right? But now we're looking at special backs. Love is special. I believe he's going to be special. He hasn't played it down yet. But certainly McCaffrey, you know, he can run between the tackles. He can catch the football. And these three we're talking about, Taylor Gibbs and Bijan, they're special backs. They're running backs that lead in scrimmage yards each year. So that's what we're looking for. And they're on teams that we think are all going to be pretty doggone good this year. I think Atlanta's going to have a good season this year if they get adequate quarterback play. So I agree with you. The renaissance, as far as the usage of the position is back. I really do agree with that. But the pay, look, I know Bijan didn't hold out, but he should have been holding out for more money because his value to the Atlanta Falcons is uncapped. Let me say this. If Bijan Robinson will make or break Tua this year, right? The way he goes running the ball and the focus on him will certainly help Tua or Penix. When you look at Gibbs, he certainly takes the pressure off of Jared Goff. And then even McCaffrey takes the pressure off of Purdy. But the league hasn't seen fit to dole out those $40 and $50 million contracts annually that they're giving to the likes of some of these quarterbacks and these receivers in their D-back. So, yeah, it's improving, but it's a long way to go because we're talking about some of the best players in the NFL, but their pay is probably in the lower percentile.
Well, to be fair, and let me get my Al Pacino on from the Devil's Advocate, okay? My Keanu Reeves on, all right? To play Devil's Advocate here, Lee, the Falcons are not winning nothing without good quarterback play. They're not. I could tell you how the Falcons season is going to go, and I don't need to be Nostradamus to do so. They're not going to go far because they don't have a quarterback. Get my point? And the same thing could be said about, I mean, look, I'm not going to disrespect Jared Goff. I think he's
everybody has to have good quarterback.
So he has playoff experience and whatnot. I'm not going to, slam him. But my point being is that, yeah, that's true. They could be the best players on their teams, but you're not going to be able to ride them all the way to the championship. You're going to have good quarterback play minimum in order for your team to win a championship. And one could argue sometimes elite quarterback plays what's going to win you a championship. There have been teams that got through the cracks and quarterbacks that may have not been elite that got through the cracks. Joe Flacco, Trent Dilfer, the list goes on. Nick Foles that won championships without being elite. But they played very good in those runs, especially Nick Foles. He had a hell of a playoff run as far as I can remember. So, yeah, I get it. Running backs, yeah, they probably should be paid more. But at the end of the day, they're not the best players that can lead their team to a championship. They could be the best players on their team, but you only go as far as your quarterback will take you. And I feel like that's why I want to look at the Falcons a little bit more directly because I don't think they wrong for paying Bijan. I think Bijan is worth every penny. My problem with the Falcons is I don't understand why you draft him to begin with and not have your quarterback, because at the end of the day, that's always going to stop you from getting over the hump is not having a quarterback. And then you're one injury away with these two guys made of glass to be having to call Phillip Rivers away from his children again to play quarterback for your team. So at the end of the day, my point is that you do need an elite quarterback, and that's why quarterbacks get the big bucks, no matter if they're not better than the running back that's on their team. They're still more valuable, and that's why they're going to get paid as such.
Yeah.
Wide receivers are arguably more valuable than running backs. That's not to
Look,
say running backs are not valuable, but all these other positions, I can name you 5 positions at least minimum that's more valuable than a running back position.
I disagree. I disagree on that. I think it's all about team building. It's how you build your team. If you build your team, you can have a good quarterback, a serviceable quarterback. If you build an offensive line and you draft a running back, you build a defense, you can win a Super Bowl. It's been proven time and time again. You don't have to have a great quarterback. Now, it's what
you look at the last 10 to 15 championships. Who was the quarterbacks dominating those championships for the most part? Brady, Mahomes. Yeah, sure, there was a aberration in between.
But look how the Eagles won. Look how the Eagles won, and you can win a championship. It's all about everything's about roster construction. There's only so many Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott, Lamar Jacksons, Allen. There's only so many of those. So in Atlanta's, and we were talking about the Falcons specifically, in Atlanta's case, Tua or Penix is not going to win you or get you to the playoffs. Bijan Robinson leading the league in yards from scrimmage is, but you still have to have complementary quarterback play. That doesn't mean you have to have great play. You're going to have what Bijan brings you at leading the league in yards from scrimmage to be a playoff team. But to your point, you're going to have competent quarterback play. So in that scenario, I wouldn't pay Tua or Penix more money than Bijan in Tampa Bay. I wouldn't pay Baker Mayfield more money than Ibuka. I just wouldn't do it because Baker's so streaky. So there are levels to it. If you are a top of the line running back, and I don't say this for every running back, but if you're a top of the line, you should hold out to be the highest paid player on your team if you're the best player, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, look, in here, that's not to say that these guys aren't weapons. They clearly are. I mean, I think if you're a DC, you're game planning against Jahmyr Gibbs. I think if you're a DC, you're game planning against Bijan. You're game planning against Derrick Henry and Lamar combined. They both offer something that pick your poison. So I CMC, you're game planning against him still. Saquon, right? But at the end of the day, you're only going to go as far as your quarterback will take you to. And even if you have those aberrations in between that goes on this Cinderella Disney story and win a championship, a lot of them played good to get there. A lot of them probably had, Joe Flacco had very good playoffs. Like he literally went into Peyton Manning house and beat Peyton Manning. He went into Tom Brady house and beat Tom Brady. He was very clutch. He was a fourth quarter guy. That was Joe Flacco. So at the end of the day, man, I'm glad to see that the running backs are getting more love and the NFL was getting back to the basics, which is wanting the football more instead of this passing, trying to outscore teams. At the end of the day, I love a sport that's balanced. This is something that the sport will always have over the NBA. The NBA is always doing the same thing. You have a bunch of teams that's copying each other in regards to the style of play of just spacing and 5 out and all that, shooting a bunch of threes. The NFL still has diversity when it comes to how they score, how they play the game. And that's why I think this sport is in a good place.
Good point. Good point.
And we are going to move on to the quarterback rankings that we have. Speaking of NFL and speaking of the value of quarterbacks, Lee, I guess I will reiterate my point. You're not going to be going places if you don't got yourself a guy. If you don't got a guy as a quarterback on your team, I don't know what to tell you, man. You got to find a guy. And I think the NFL teams are either looking for that guy or they're building around that guy. There's no in between. And right now, we are going to break down our top 32, obviously today, 10 through 6 quarterbacks in the NFL. We already got through a couple guys, a couple of the list, Lee. And if you want, Lee, I'll let you just recap your list, and then you can give your next one. So the last, I believe we did 15 through 11. if you want to recap that and then give your next group. But before you do, Lee, I do want to make a point here. I do have a correction that I want to make here on this show. All right. Now, Lee, you put me in check last week, and I had to think about it. Look, I'm not an idiot, man. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If somebody opened my eyes to see what I just didn't see, I'll consider it. I'm not stuck up. I'm not that type of dude. So, Lee, on the last show we did, I had Dak Prescott ranked number 11. And I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? I'm looking at that offense. That offense probably might be top 3 in the NFL this upcoming season with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. I believe I ranked him a little bit too low. I'm gonna move him up a spot into my top 10. But I'm gonna give you the full 10-6. But Lee, I want you to go. I just want to make that announcement. And I'm also gonna move Kyler Murray up into my top 16 as well. I'm starting to drink that Vikings Kool-Aid a little bit. There's a lot of weapons over there. I think Kyler Murray is motivated. I think this quarterback battle is over already. He's gonna start and he's gonna be successful. So I'm gonna move Kyler Murray up to number 16. I'm gonna move Dak Prescott up to number 10. Lee, I'll give you the mic.
Yeah, wise decisions on both of those, Leel. I'll give you some respect for reevaluating especially Dak Prescott, because even 10 is too low in my opinion. But I'm going to go back and give you just a quick recap of the names. First of all, it's interesting. You talk about the quarterback position, and you have all 4 of those quarterbacks on your picture, of which neither one of them have won a Super Bowl. It's interesting because football, more than any sport, is a complementary league, and it takes a village, and those are most of them are frontline quarterbacking. But in these teams like the Falcons, some of these other teams that have great skilled players like running backs, I would tend to say those running backs carry the team more. But anyway, my number 15 was Sam Darnold of the Seattle Seahawks. My number 14 was Kyler Murray of the Minnesota Vikings. My number 13 was Trevor Lawrence of the Jacksonville Jaguars. My number 12 was Brock Purdy of the San Francisco 49ers. And my number 11 was Justin Herbert of the LA Chargers. So that was 15 through 11. Now I'll go to my 6 through 10. Would start with number 10. That would be Justin Love. Now, look, Justin
Love or Jordan Love?
Jordan Love. Jordan Love had a pretty good regular season, to be honest with you, Leel. Threw for 23 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions, had 3,381 yards passing. QBR was 72.7. That was 3rd in the league. 63.3% completion percentage. So Jordan Love had a good year. My question with Jordan Love and why he's a little lower is this. He really doesn't show up in a lot of big games. He tends to come back down to the pack in games we want to see him go out and win. And also, he throws too many suspect passes at the inopportune time. So he'll throw the ball into triple coverage when you're leading by 7 in the 4th quarter. Why? Protect the lead. So I want to see Jordan Love get better from the neck up in situational football. That's what I think he needs to do. He just makes too many mistakes for his talent level in big games. So that's why he's down a little bit lower at 10. But I do like Jordan Love, and I see you got someone, Leel. The fact that you don't have JD5 in the top 10 is straight blasphemy.
I want to respond to that. I am a big Jaden Daniels fan. He's probably my 2nd favorite quarterback in the NFL right now. I had him number 12. The reason why I didn't have him number 10 is because I think that team needs to do more. I'm still on the fence about Dan Quinn. I'm still on the fence about the weaponry. I do like the Stephon Diggs pickup, and I do believe if Diggs is motivated enough and consistent enough like how he normally is, then he will be better. I made this ranking before the Diggs move, but I'm going to keep it where I keep it because injuries. They just lost their lineman Turnsuit, so I think that's going to be a big loss as well. So I'm going to keep him at number 12 where I have him, but still one of my favorite quarterbacks.
Yeah, I have Jaden Daniels at number 9. in the top 10. I think when of course, he was injured last year, but when you look back to his rookie year, of course, he was rookie of the year. 69% completion rate, threw for 35, almost 3,600 yards, 25 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. 67% QBR. So Jordan, Jaden Daniels was special his rookie year. My question with Jaden Daniels is this coming into this season, Leo. One, how much will the run-pass ratio be with Jordan Love? Because I think he has to use his legs situationally, and I don't want them designing a run game around Jaden Daniels, because if they do that, he's going to get hurt again, and that's too much punishment for a player with his body style. So that, and the fact of the matter is, will the Commanders, they picked up Diggs. I like that pickup, but how are they passing game evolve? What is that passing game going to look like? Down the field, I think Jaden Daniels is a great down the field thrower, but they cut Tyler Biadasz, their center. Ton Steele has gotten hurt. They have another lineman that's Nick already, starting lineman. So what is it going to look like? And if they can't protect him, Leo, then there goes a lot of running, which doesn't bode well. But I like Jaden Daniels as my 9th favorite quarterback. Number 8, I have Drake May. Drake May had a phenomenal season last year, runner-up in the MVP race. I mean, look, he threw for almost 4,400 yards, had 31 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, had the highest QBR in the league, completed 67%. I'm on 71% of his pass, 77% of his pass, excuse me. And so he had a phenomenal year. The addition of A.J. Brown is only going to help him and help the Patriots. But this is my problem with Drake May. He went from 77% completion in the regular season to 58% in the playoffs. So when the team's gotten better and the defenses got better, he came down in his play. I have to give him credit for the regular season because, hey, he played for 17 games, but when he played the likes of Houston and Seattle and some of these defenses, he threw for 6 touchdowns and 4 interceptions in the playoffs. So his level of play tapered off. So that's sort of what I have as far as bringing Drake May down to the 8th slot, even though he was second in the MVP voting. My number 7th quarterback is Caleb Williams. Now, Caleb is an interesting subject because his completion percentage is 58%, so not great. Threw for 3,900 yards, 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. His QBR was right around 58, middle of the pack. But you know what he was, Leo? He was the Iceman, right? Big plays at big times in the game is what he did. He thrived as a playmaker. And look at that. Look at that. Look at that throw. Look at that throw. Just as a playmaker alone, and what he did and this is unbelievable, what he did to lead the Bears to the playoffs and deep in the playoffs. You have to give him credit. He's an ascending player. I think what Caleb has to do is clean up some of the intermediate throws and the little layup throws in the flat. Get your feet work right, set your feet, deliver the ball right, and that completion percentage will go up. But I think Caleb Williams is an ascending player, and I think he is going to have a great 2026. And then my number 6 quarterback is Patrick Mahomes. And, he missed 3 games last year. It wasn't the greatest season, but he still threw for 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He had 62% completion percentage. And the other thing is he's Patrick Mahomes. And he's coming off of an injury. It's going to take him a little bit. I don't know. If I was the Chiefs, I wouldn't start him the first 4 games of the season. I let him come back slowly and start Justin Fields. But he's Patrick Mahomes. He's number 6. When healthy, he's top 3 as far as quarterbacks. They do need to make sure, though, that their receiving core. I don't like the Chiefs receiving core. I think they're too small. Xavier Worthy, I think they have really smallest receivers. You can't trust Rashee Rice. Is a head case. So Mahomes not having a great wide receiver core. Kelsey's getting older, has hurt him, but he's still Patrick Mahomes. So my number 6 is Patrick Mahomes. I'll recap. Number 10, Jordan Love. Number 9, Jaden Daniels. Number 8, Drake May. Number 7, Caleb Williams. And my number 6 quarterback is Patrick Mahomes. What are your thoughts, Leel?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a bad list. I think that it's a solid list. I can't really disagree much there. Maybe it's a full moon. Maybe me and Lee do see stuff a little bit more commonly that we would lead to believe. So look, I gave my number 10 Dak Prescott for reasons that I explained on the last show. When I had him number 11, I just moved him up. I believe that offense is going to be potent, and they're probably going to have the second best duo in the NFL behind Jamar Chase and Higgins at wide receiver. So I think that Prescott is going to have a reminiscent MVP season like how he did a couple years ago. I got him at number 10. At number 9, I'm going to go with Caleb Williams at number 9. You know, look, I do believe that Lee made some very valid points about Caleb Williams, but you look at these 2 throws here, especially this one. I mean, he made 2 of the or 3 of the best throws that I've seen last season, like off the bat. Like you had a top 10 quarterback throws on ESPN of last year. He would literally have 3 plays in the top 5 and probably would have number 1 at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So that goes to show you his ability to extend plays, play out of structure. But at the end of the day, what I do want to see from Caleb Williams, which I believe Lee wants to see as well, he mentioned it, is him hitting the layup throws.
Yeah.
Because if he can hit up the layup throws and find a rhythm earlier, one thing about the Bears that I didn't like from this team was that they made the game harder, right? They wanted to be the icebreakers and the icemen and all that and come back in the fourth quarter. But if they make the game easier for themselves where they're not playing from behind, this could be a really, really good team. I love the investments they made on the offensive line. Again, I would like to see the rapport in year 2 with him and Ben Johnson and how that's going to pan out. I do believe that Roma Doomsday is set up for a good year, a big year. Colston Loveland is going to emerge as one of the best tight ends after next season coming up. I believe Caleb Williams is going to pick up right where he left off, and he's going to have a better season than he did last year because he's going to hit more of those intermediate layup throws. At number 8, I am going to go with Justin Herbert at number 8. And look, I understand that, he doesn't have the accolades that you want him to have. He hasn't won an MVP. He didn't win a playoff game, and I get all of that. But I have to go with my eyes too. I have to go with my eyes, but I also got to make a note here that Justin Herbert, you have to win a playoff game this year. Otherwise, I cannot continue doing this, man. I cannot continue to go bat for you if you don't go bat for me. You need to win a playoff game, buddy, because if you don't win a playoff game this year, you will not be ranked in my top 10 next year, and you could book that, okay? So please, show the league why I have you this high, despite you not winning anything, because Lee could come back at me right now and put me on blast and say, you know what? He hasn't won a playoff game. Leel, what are you doing? And that can insult my intelligence because I believe in my intelligence when it comes to quarterback play and when it comes to the NFL. But you gotta show me that I'm right. I do believe he has the best arm talent in the league, in my opinion. Some of the throws that Justin Herbert has made. I want to run some of these clips while I'm talking here because I want to be able to talk through some of the throws that this brother makes, including this one. I mean, this guy was getting hit all last year. He didn't have no line. He had the hardest predicament of any what I deem to be great quarterback in the NFL last year. He was constantly under duress, had to scramble out just to get that throw off. And look at that, pinpoint accurate down the field. He has a rocket launcher. He has more of a rocket launcher than King Jong-un. Okay, this guy is that dude. But again, Lee, playoffs. But look, I do think this team is going to be the best version of themselves. They were trending in the right direction to start off the year last year when they beat the Chiefs. I was like, all right, this is the year that they're going to win a division. And then they had the injuries on the offensive line that self-sabotage the season. But I do believe they're going to get those guys back. They still got to build continuity there. I do believe that their wide receiver core is all right. It's not the best, but I do believe in Lyle McConkey. I do believe that Christian Johnson has finally figured out how to catch the football with two hands. I believe Trey Harris is going to have a bigger impact on the offense in year two. Amarion Hampton is going to be that dude. This dude is going to take over the league next season. He's going to be the best top three running back of football next season. That's going to make things easier for Herbert. You still got him, Harbaugh, coaching the football team. I like Herbert at number 7. And now at number 6, I'm going to agree with my guy Lee. I'm going to have Patrick Mahomes at number 6. Now, look, Patrick Mahomes is the most accomplished quarterback on these rankings. And ideally, if I had a perfect team already built and I just needed a quarterback, maybe I'll go with Mahomes there. But this ranking is more indicative about the questions and the unknowns that I have about Mahomes and his ACL rehabilitation and the entire offense in general, the lack of a consistent threat at wide receiver outside of Rashid Rice, who was a threat to himself because he can't stay on the daggone field because he can't stay out of trouble. Listen, Travis Kelce, I don't know why he came back. He should have retired last year. Clearly, his head is not in football. His head is too busy, over there with Taylor Swift. We'll just leave it like that, okay? He's not worried about no daggone football, so he should been retired. So, look, I do believe he had a lot of drops last year. I do believe that it's going to take Mahomes a long time to really get back to form. And the thing that I worry about when it comes to the Chiefs offense and Mahomes individually as a quarterback, since we're talking about him individually, is that one thing that made Mahomes lethal was his scrambling ability. His scrambling, I believe, won him the last championship because they didn't really have that number one guy at wide receiver, but his scrambling was an underrated threat because it allowed wide receivers to re-extend and get open. He's not going to be able to do that, especially as a runner. Now, he may be able to buy a little bit of time, as a passer, but not as a runner where you will have the defense guessing, or you're going to run for the first down or you're going to throw for the first down. That is completely taken away with this injury for now. I believe the offense is going to struggle. I believe Andy Reid is still in Cancun. He was in Cancun all last year. I believe he's going to be in Cancun again. So I'm going to go with Patrick Mahomes at number 6. So to recap my list, at number 10, I had Dak Prescott. At number 9, I had Caleb Williams. At number 8, I had Jordan Love. At number 7, I have Justin Herbert. And at number 6, I had Patrick Mahomes. Lee, I send it right back to you.
Yeah, but first of all, Dak is way too low. But I'll let you. You did move him in the top 10, but Dak Prescott, to me, and you'll see as we do 1 through 5. I'll let you know where I rank him.
I see Lee going all the way with Dak Prescott, man.
Well, I mean, his numbers speak for themselves. So I'll take a little exception to that. I don't have an issue with Caleb's ranking or Jordan Love's. I had them 10, and I think I had Caleb 7. So I don't have a qualm with that. We are in agreement on Mahomes at 6. The person that I really have an issue with, to your point, is Justin Herbert.
Yeah, I knew it was coming.
He's a 500 quarterback. He's a 500 quarterback. Basically, he's a little over 500 right now. He does have a rocket arm. I will say that. But, Leel, he hadn't done anything. And he makes, again, another quarterback that makes critical mistakes at big times in football games. So, for me, you can say very similar to what, Josh Allen was early in his career. He made critical mistakes. Now, he cleaned that up, even though nobody talks about the 4 interceptions he threw last year in the playoffs when he got beat. But we'll let that go till later. I'm sure we'll have that discussion next week. But Herbert does the same thing. And so he hadn't showed me anything to really validate a top 10 ranking for him. Yeah, people anticipate and they see some wild throws and things of that nature, but winning percentage is not there. Playoffs win. The man blew a league where they were up 28 points in the playoffs. So nothing from a winning perspective, really from a completion percentage perspective, supports it. I will say this. He has Jim Harbaugh, and Jim Harbaugh is going to play a game and manage the game that makes Justin Herbert a better game manager, which will make him a better quarterback, Leel. And so that he may improve this year. I do think the Chargers are going to be a contender in the AFC. But right now, for what he's done, hey, he'll have to show me more to get in my top 10.
I mean, look, you know, if Justin Herbert had the killer instinct, like a Tom Brady, like a Joe Burrow, he would be arguably the best quarterback in football. I firmly believe that, but he doesn't have it. And I wish he gets it. I wish he develops that, because when I saw that video or that picture of him with Madison Brer chilling like it was a picnic at training camp, I really considered ranking him lower than what I have him right now. I really did. Because to me, that's not the mentality that I think a quarterback, a leader should have. And that's the one thing that I really wish Justin Herbert has, is that talent. I mean, excuse me, that mentality talent, that killer instinct. And he doesn't have it. So but I do believe that all the losses that he had throughout his career, all the ups and downs, something has to go right for the Chargers. And look, a lot of injuries throughout the years. I think this year they got to get some luck on their side. I am very curious and fascinated by the pairing of Mike McDaniels, especially when it comes with Jim Harbaugh, because those are guys that philosophically rise. You would think they're different. So I'm definitely looking at that more closely. You know, what is Mike McDaniel going to bring to Justin Herbert and the offense? And is it going to be similar to what he brought with Tua? Remember, Tua has nowhere near the attributes that Justin Herbert has as a quarterback, but still led the league in passing percentage, led the league in passing yards. And granted, you have Tyreek Hill, so that helps a lot, right? There's ways you can score a touchdown, right, with big plays, either throw it deep or throw a 5-yard pass to Tyreek Hill and let him take it to the house.
Tua's more accurate, Leel. Tua's more accurate than Justin Herbert.
Yeah, he's very accurate.
He's more
but
accurate.
At the end of the day, he does have physical limitations that you don't have with Justin Herbert. So I do believe that Mike McDaniel is going to bring the best out of this running game with some very good running backs that they got on this team, led by Marion Hampton. And I do believe that it's going to put Justin Herbert in a predicament where with a healthy offensive line, he does not have to be Superman on every single play. He's going to be able to be a game manager sprinkled with his wild plays that he's going to have occasionally. That's going to increase the win column, and that's going to put the Chargers in a good predicament to win that division, along with Denver, who's going to be a contender in it. And I believe thus, because they're going to win, hopefully he wins a playoff game, which I might predict him to do so. That justifies my ranking.
I'll be interested to see it. That's all I'll say. I'll end with that.
And ladies and gentlemen, we'll end with that in general. Ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up another episode of the Real Leel Show, another high octane show with my guy Lee. And Lee, by all means, feel free to plug yourself in.
Absolutely. Sunday, 6:30 p.m. We'll be back next week after the Buzzer Show with Lee Jones. Check me out. This is what we do. Like and subscribe to the show. This was a hot show. Always love coming on the Real Leel Show. We keep it real. It's been a great show, man. Thanks for having me.
Definitely. And make sure you guys like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you support new media, whether it's Lee, whether it's me. Make sure you like and subscribe and tap in. We'll be back next week with another one. Peace out.
Peace.
Sports, politics, conspiracy theories. We are here to give you our unique perspectives on things happening in the world. It's the one and only The Real Leel on The Real Leel Show.